Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're back with another progress report. Our last video update was at the 7 month mark, and it's been 3 months, which means we are now at the 10 month mark, and we have some big milestones to report this time. So, the first big point is that Benton Guest House is now open and available on Airbnb. We opened on November 20th, so we were about 3 days late from our anticipated opening date. And since then, we've hosted two groups. We had a group of four and a group of one, and we've got two more groups coming up here this week for New Year's. We have a group of six and a group of two coming. So the guest house is getting going, and if I remember correctly from when we started our Airbnb in New Orleans, it's getting started a little bit faster than that guest house. So that's good news for us, especially because this is Ōmishima's slower season, being that it's the winter time here. And to get to this point of having our guest house open, we had two smaller milestones that we had to reach on the way. One of those was the fire department inspection and approval, and that was its own lengthy and expensive process. And the other was the Minpaku rental license. So we have met both of those goals, and as soon as we got those done, that's when the guest house was able to open officially.
Next up is, of course, we got our 1 year business manager visas, and that was what the whole time has been leading up to with the startup visa that we got from Imabari City and everything. And we actually got approved for that on Christmas Day, so that was a wonderful Christmas present for us. We're gonna make, I don't know, probably several videos talking about that because I know that's what a lot of people are interested in. And basically, I got the business manager visa. Uh, Danny got the spouse visa, and we started a business of honeybees and a guest house and her photography, and that's basically what is giving us the license to live here in Japan.
So we are glad that we got the 1 year visa. At the last minute, we sort of got our hopes up that we might be one of the rare instances where we get a 3 year visa. But our immigration lawyer had prepped us pretty well, and he was saying that it's most likely that we would get the 1 year visa. He said that's most businesses when they start in Japan receive a 1 year visa first, and then at the first renewal, then they can start trying for a longer visa. So we don't have to go through this process every single year. But this first year, we will have to go through it again around next Christmas.
And the final big milestone is that we purchased our second house, which is the house that we're sitting in here and filming this video in today. And we're spending most of our time here, although it's not really inhabitable. There's no hot water, and the roof leaks. The walls leak. It's really cold. So
If you've watched some of our videos, this was uh, abandoned for approximately 40 years. So we've got some good footage already. I've been documenting with photos, and we've got more videos coming up soon. But for now, it's pretty rustic.
right, and we have not gotten to any renovations yet on this house, although we've been going through and sorting the belongings and filming that process. So that's going to be a big process going forward, and there's a lot of people restoring these old Akiya houses in Japan, so hopefully we'll get some help.
And we're not really in any hurry to get there. So, I keep joking around and saying it's going to take us 10 years to remodel this house, and it might, but we're sort of thinking going forward. We've gotten a lot of people reaching out to us about questions about restoring the old houses, and even offers for people to come help so they can get some experience working with these kinds of houses and materials, and then go off and renovate their own house. So we're sort of thinking, I mean, obviously we have no plans in set in stone yet, but we're playing with the idea of sort of hosting like some workshops and learning together experiences, because we're obviously not experts, but maybe we could host some experts and have some people come stay and learn with us. So we just have a lot of ideas rolling around. And since the first house had the 6 month deadline in order to be not only remodeled but welcoming guests for the startup visa timeline, this one we're really going to take our time and do things nice and slow.
And all that being said, for the past couple weeks, we've really been taking it easy. We exceeded our energy envelopes getting the guest house ready, and so we've been taking a break. And the end of the year is a good time to do so.
I want to start off by saying that we are so thankful for the team of professionals that we're working with, and even just friends and neighbors who have helped us along the way with little things. But notably, our immigration lawyer, Shimizu-san, our business consultant, Mizubuchi-san, and our accountant, Sakai-sensei. They've really helped us with all this. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of paperwork. I feel like we basically lived at Family Mart going down there to print things out and sign things and fax things and stamp things, and it's we're still having some trouble getting our belongings shipped from the US. So I've talked about that before and I don't really want to go into it again. But that's just a huge unexpected expense. So for now, we are still just going to be paying monthly for it to remain in storage in the US until we can afford that big bill to get it shipped here, which I guess that's a good segue into that's where subscribing to this channel comes in. We are 64% of our goal to 1,000 subscribers, which is the minimum for monetization. So any sharing, anything, I know most of you watching this video are already subscribers, so thank you for that. Thanks for following along and all of your comments and messages. We really appreciate all the communication and encouragement that we get from everyone. But anytime you share our videos, anything like that, we really appreciate it because we're just inching towards that 1,000 subscriber mark. When we bought this house, one of the pieces of land had an issue with it. So this house came with 3 pieces of land around it. One of them is a small square residential plot. We looked on Google Maps and it seems to have been either a very small house or a garage that was torn down in the last 10 years. So it's nice and flat, and that's where we actually park. That's our only parking space for this house, just down the road. Attached to that is a piece of farmland, and then there is also a piece of forest land, which is the honeybee land we'll be on. But the farmland had an issue, so it was um, unable to be sold. It's apparently owned by so many people. It was passed down to a number of people over the years, and some of those people are um, not able to be contacted. And basically, we were just told that it would be such a convoluted and expensive process that it would be best for us to just not technically own that piece of land. So it's written in our real estate contract that we can use the land indefinitely, and I'm not really sure on the details. Pretty much, we're just totally fine with it because the seller came to us when they found this piece of information out and voluntarily offered to lower the price a little bit to compensate for us not being able to technically own that land. But and it sounds like sketchy, it sounds like scary, and I think it would be in the U.S. But here, there's just so many abandoned farmland. Like nobody's gonna come and try and get this piece of land, and it's written in the real estate contract. So while we don't technically own it, there is an official document saying that we're able to use it indefinitely.
Okay, and so moving forward, really, before we get to renovating this house so that we can live in it comfortably, we have to make sure that we can earn a living here in Japan. So, with the guest house up and running, we're switching gears over to the actual homesteading process, which in our business plan has always been honeybees and uh, some other farming. And so, as we've been here with boots on the ground, we've got a more dialed in idea of what we're actually going to do. So first of all, though, another part of our solution to our honeybee yard problem is we've decided that we're going to keep Japanese honeybees on,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
on that field that we're not able to use because since they are native, I guess they are unregulated. So we have to actually report to the government how many colonies we have at the beginning of each year
For European
for the
honeybees.
European honeybees. And of course, there's might there's things we have to report. It's not really necessary to get into all that. Anyway, we can have as many Japanese honeybees on that land as we want, and no one can say anything about it. And they have a shorter flight radius. Um, and then so with the farming, with the other farming, we've decided that we are going to focus on market gardening to start out. And so if you're not familiar with that term, that's short season crops and trying to get as many you know things that take like a month or so to grow into your growing season. And our growing season is very long. We're looking at like 10 frost-free months a year, and the summer we're gonna have to take a break, just like we would have in New Orleans, because it gets so dang hot here in July and August. Um, but one thing that's well, the biggest thing that's leading us towards that is we need to make money right away, and the big brains on YouTube are always saying that that's the most profitable way to make money in the short term farming. And another thing is that there are we would call them souvenir shops in the United States. In Japan, they call them omiyage shops, and they're just shops that sell local products. And a big thing that they sell is local produce. And we've already talked to a few of those about carrying our honeybees, or sorry, our bee honey. Um, and so the next step is just to say, would you also carry our produce? So we're going to get that going. And my plan had been to spend the winter building beehives. So that's still something I'm going to have to do. But in addition to that, I'm going to be doing a lot of land prep, and we are also going to be securing some more fields to do the market gardening on. And we already have verbal agreements, but turns out,
That'll be leasing, not purchasing.
yeah. So but in terms of market gardening, um, we we've been considering all of these different things we could grow. We talked about pickling vegetables, which is what we grew in the United States. Everyone here has orange groves, and a lot of those are probably we could probably pick some of those up. We've had offers to grow wine grapes, but those aren't those take a couple years to produce. We looked at sprouts, and there was a big sprout scandal in the '90s in Japan. So sprouts is a very, very touchy subject here, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, we were really big on. We were gonna start a sprout. I mean, there if you look up like sprouts, grow sprouts in your basement, and make like bank at farmers markets. That's like a big thing on YouTube in the U.S. and other places, but it's just
Yeah,
definitely not possible here in
it's
Japan.
well, it's kind of a franchise deal. They've come up with these machines. They've mechanized the process here. So anyway, if you're interested in that sort of process, the thought process that would go into farming, making money farming in Japan too. We'd like to talk more about that. So that's another thing. If you're interested, leave a comment below. And long story short, with the average age of a farmer being like 75 or so, you could do anything here. You can, and I mean that's globally that's true. Um, but the question is making money in the short term so you can get your visa renewed if you're a foreigner. And for that, we're going to do market gardening. And in addition, Danny's going to try and drum up some business for her photography.
Yeah, so I've been a photographer in Oregon, and then I moved my business when we moved to New Orleans, and then here. So in Oregon, I don't know offhand exactly how many years I was a photographer there, quite a few. And only one time did I ever get anyone contact me and say, I'm coming to Oregon for vacation and I would like some photos while I'm there. So I was surprised when I relocated to New Orleans, and very quickly, almost exactly 50% of my business came from tourists in New Orleans, and the other 50% were locals. So it was a very big part of my business was just family pictures, couples portraits, and solo travelers to New Orleans, taking pictures in the French Quarter, or um, we would do not City Park, and what was the other park? Just
Audubon
the
Park.
Audubon Park with the lovely trees and the moss hanging down. Um, so I'm going to be taking that here since we are fortunate to be in another um, big tourist area where everyone rides their bicycles across the Shimanami Kaido bridges. So I'm going to try and do tourist portraits is going to be my first focus for photography here. And obviously, I don't have any big aspirations for photography being the biggest income part of our business. It was a pretty big part of our income in New Orleans, but here, obviously, there's still the language issue, unless I'm getting foreign travelers as they come through, which that would be nice. But I'd love to do some portraits for Japanese people as they're traveling through as well. So um, that's just a thing I've got to work on, updating my website and getting my marketing out there for that. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to be focusing on making our YouTube channel even better. So, gosh, it's been 9 months, I guess, since I bought the drone, and I have only flown it once. So I've really got to get the drone out there, and I'm working towards just every time I make a video, I go back and I analyze it, and I'm like, what can we do better? How can I continue to make these better? And obviously, this video is just like off the cuff talking, and it's a little rambly. And I want to make a series of very precise videos about the whole startup visa, the Minpaku rental, the visa extension, turning the startup visa into a business manager visa process. And that's going to be a series of very detailed videos. And so that will not be off the cuff rambly like this. That will be just bullet points. I'll have the whole thing written out first. So that's just another little thing that my focus is on, which is the photography and making our YouTube channel even better.
Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good wrap up.
Yeah, the only other thing we're doing is just, we've got, I'm sure you just saw Bosco running around in the back, and we've got Ponkan Kitty, and they are enriching our lives. And if you follow our stories at all, you know that we've got all the street dogs around us. So that's another one of my goals coming up is we've got it. There's so many street dogs, but the three that we see regularly is Hime-sama, who is Bosco's grandmother. Shiro is Bosco's mom, and Coyote Man is Bosco's dad. And Hime-sama we already have caught and neutered, or spayed. I mean, she's a lady, so she gets spayed. And she lived with us for a couple of days, and then she made a great escape. You might see the
Hole in the door.
the damaged door right there. So she chewed through a metal cage and through our wooden and paper door and escaped. And so we've been giving her monthly heartworm medicine and just feeding him. But I would really like to. At some point, my goal is to domesticate her, and then the other two need to be trapped, spayed, and neutered, and either rehomed because we can't have a million dogs, or just re-released and unable to reproduce. So that's obviously has nothing to do with our visa or being able to live here or being able to make a business, but that's it's really important to me. And there's a couple of neighbors are catching on and sort of understanding that it is a problem and it can't just be ignored. So, um, and of course, there's the rescue on the island, who I guess they've been a rescue for a couple of years now, so they're also still just like picking up steam, and they're doing a lot of amazing work. Um, so I think it's just a matter of making it a personal project and helping out the Ōmishima dogs.
Yeah, and it certainly has a lot to do with the environment here, which is a big part of what we're interested in with the regenerative agriculture. Um, but yeah, anyway, so we've got a lot on our plates. We've accomplished a lot this year, a lot that we're proud of, and I hope you've enjoyed following along with our stories and our YouTube videos. And so please, as I mentioned, we're really looking forward to monetizing this channel to be able to count on an additional income stream. So share our videos and subscribe, and please just tell your friends about everything we're doing here if you like what we're doing. I mentioned the Kickstarter, so if you feel obliged to contribute to that, that would be wonderful. Um, but I think that's about what we've been up to.
Yep.
So,
So Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year. And I've already got our next couple of videos edited, and those are going to be coming out soon. And hopefully, we'll just keep them coming.
all right, thanks for watching, guys.
See you next time.